If you wrestled our guest anytime in your career, believe me, there was no peace on earth for you. If you would, tell us who you are.
I'm Bryan Peace, Ryle High School, graduated 2008, state champ in 2007, 2008, five-time state placer.
And of course, this is your 2008, I believe, 140-pound state championship review video. We've been going back and forth, feels like, for a while to get you lined up, and we finally able to get it connected. Thank to Coach Tim Rochelle for sending me your number and getting this lined up. Man, I'm excited. And also, I want to say thank you to Harrison Courtney for finding the video of 2008. Man, there was some good wrestling in 2008. Jarvis Elam, Harrison, you, Anthony Bailey in the heavyweight class. I mean, just some great names there. Your teammate Mason Reed,
Yeah,
just up and down the roster, man. Just some great wrestling. Corey Spencer and Travis Sullivan had a heck of a. Travis was going to be a four-timer, and Corey uh, knocked him off there. It was just a great up and down year to watch. So the standard question we start everybody off with, because we get so many great responses, different responses, is how do you get into wrestling, man? How do you find it?
yeah. So I have to go all the way back to like kindergarten, So my older brother, Matt Peace, he was in the Raw Wrestling program. I think he came on. We had a youth program. It was the Ashworth family kind of leading that up. And then middle school and high school, we had, I mean, I think it goes all the way back to like Ken Simmons. Um, and and yeah, like when I think about like what kind of got me into it, I think it was just like, I wasn't a tall little fella. So I'm not going to be out there playing basketball. And I'm sure some of it too was like professional wrestling, like back in the day, there was like the Hell in the Cell, the Undertaker, and
Yeah.
like, you know, Mick Foley, Mankind. Like, I think that probably brought me in a little bit too. But then, you know, like when I got into middle school is when I started taking it a little bit more seriously. And it's got to be some of the more kind of like cornerstone memories of me going to watch my brother compete in the state wrestling tournament. And this probably would have been like 2001, 2002. So, 7, 8 years before I even like was there. But we had Jordan Blackmore, first Ryle state
Yep.
champ. I remember watching that match. Um, and then I think the next one, who I hear you've also got a video coming out soon, Derek Fossbender. And like I just remember watching that match. And I think like the first period he got pancaked. He got put on his back.
It was
And
the end of the second. We
okay,
just
yeah.
watched it as of this filming. We watched it the previous night. This is December 12th, 2024. And when it got to that part in the video, he walked away from the camera. He couldn't watch it.
Yeah, so like it was like that was our like team's like kind of big milestone, right? Like we like Jordan got to keep the momentum going. It's good for the program to get Derek up there. And who is it? Billy Whitehouse. I
Yep, that's
remember
exactly right.
there was a match that Derek had at state duels that I think he and Billy wrestled. And like, I was in the middle school program at this time, but like we were there like at all of these matches. And I was there
Mhm.
rooting my brother on. And there was a lot of guys like Keith Rochelle. Kyle Rochelle was in JV as a seventh grader at this time,
Yeah.
right? And that, I'm sure he probably went into it, but he would have to like chug water just to meet the weight minimum to compete at 103, right? Wes Barentine, like all kinds of guys in the mix there. And Derek's match, like I just remember the atmosphere being so electric, right? Like
Yep.
gets put on his back, he's got to dig himself out of a 4 or 5, 6 point hole, and he just put on a takedown clinic in that third period. And like also the other thing that I want to say, like anybody that's watching this that weren't around back when the state tournament was at the pit in Frankfurt, like that was a whole different vibe than what it is now, right? Like And like I said, cornerstone memories for me. Like I remember, being in fifth grade, sixth grade, watching these guys, and like I knew I wanted to be on that stage. I wanted to be under the lights, and I wanted to be a state champ. And then at the end of every practice, Ryle used to have a chant, and I watched my brother lead it, and it was like, "Who's the best? Like we're the best. We're the best all day, all night. State champs, state champs, state champs." I thought that was the coolest thing. Like everybody getting together, and like I said, my brother was the one that was leading it. So yeah, that's kind of what into. And by the time I probably got in sixth, seventh grade, it became like a really big focus. Um, Freshman year, I was a dual athlete. I played football and wrestling. And from freshman year onward, I just focused solely on wrestling. Like I really wanted to make that kind of like my legacy with the Ryle athletics. So
Man, I completely understand that, and to the parents, the guardians watching this, and you've got youngsters in the elementary programs, the youth programs, middle school. Take them to the state finals. Take them to the state finals in Lexington. It's at the horse park. It's easy to get to. It might be a little bit of a drive, but I'm telling you, seriously could not tell you the number of guys that have said the exact same thing, almost word for word, about what you said. They had somebody in their family wrestling in the state finals or placing. They took them down, especially at the Frankfurt, the dungeon there in Frankfurt, seeing the lights come down, the music, the glow sticks, the beach balls, all that kind of stuff. People, they're like, this is the greatest thing I've ever been to in my life. And they ended up state champions multiple times over. The rest of the family got into wrestling. So if you can, take your kids that are wrestling to the state finals, let them experience it. It is a different atmosphere than what it is or what it used to be at the dungeon, but nevertheless, it's still the state finals. And I'm telling you, you will see the benefits of taking your kids to watch the state finals if they truly love the sport of wrestling, because it is so different.
yeah, I
Seeing
mean,
seeing people that you in the wrestling room with, or people maybe you see out in the community or whatever, seeing them run out from behind the tunnel there, being introduced. And in Kentucky, we only have one state champion. It's not classed. It's not split into different divisions or sections. You could be somebody from Ryle wrestling somebody from Christian County, or Johnson Central wrestling somebody from Union County. It's such a big state that you never see these other teams unless you're like at the state duels or state tournament or whatever, and you're like, where in the world's that school from? I never even heard of this place, and there they are out there on the main mat, eyes of the state on you. It's just a different vibe, man. It really is.
yeah, to that point, like I know you got like trivia on your Facebook page and stuff, and I saw earlier today Cody Longkurt's like always on that. I
Yep.
remember him as a little dude with his shirt off, body painted, like cheering us on. And I'm sure from his perspective, like in the same way that I was so inspired by like seeing Jordan Blackmore, like Derek Fossbender, Kyle Rochelle, like all those guys. I'm sure that like we had some level of impact on a similar wavelength.
Oh, I'm
So
sure, man. I'm sure. Of course, we officiate with his dad, Kenny.
oh
Actually,
yeah,
I think I was thinking about this earlier, or maybe it was yesterday with Derek. I think I've roomed with Kenny a few times at like state tournament or state duels or whatever. So I know that connection's deep. But to that point, let's talk about Ryle's history real quick.
yeah.
As of this filming, Ryle has 24 total state champions, 23 boys, one girl. The first, of course, Jordan Blackmore in 2001, Derek Fosbender in 2003, Kyle Rochelle in '04 and '05. Of course, in '05, Kyle went on to be most outstanding. He goes on from Ryle to Wisconsin, becomes a two-time All-American there at Wisconsin. 2005, Rob Ayler, Mason Reed in '07 and '08. Of course, you in '07 and '08, Jake Bradford in '09, Michael Osborne, 2010, Michael was also the most outstanding wrestler. Austin Palmer in 2010. TJ Rochelle in 2011. Johnny Meeman in 2014 and 15. Logan Erdman in 2015. Cole Thomas, a four-timer. 19, 20, 21, 22. Of course, all four of Cole's are on the channel. And also Cole, 2022 most outstanding. Noah Duke, two-timer, 2021 and 22. 2021 most outstanding. Landon Evans in 23. And then the latest state champion is Victoria Emelianova in 2024. Four team state runner-ups. You guys tied with LaRue County in 05, 2008, 2010, and then 2021. You guys, Ryle, that is, a team state runner-up. So just a phenomenal tradition, man. Absolutely phenomenal tradition there at Ryle. Coach Rochelle, Rick, Barker, Darren Thomas, everybody associated with the program, man, just an excellent job from the youth program all the way up to the high school. Just great program. One of the top programs in the state. I know whenever we have middle school state tournament or youth state tournament, it feels like there's about 7,000 little wrestlers running around with the color. I believe they call it Union. I believe that's the name of the middle school. Is that correct?
Gray Middle School.
Gray, yeah, that's right. Gray Middle School. They have, and they're like the Ryle club team and stuff. You can always spot them out. That orange is easy to spot. So just a great, from top to bottom, man, just a great program there at Ryle. But let's talk about your state tournament runs. Earlier you mentioned you were a five-time placer. 2004, 112 pounds as an eighth grader. You come in sixth place. In the quarters, you run into Rusty Parks. Rusty gets you with a 10-3 decision. Of course, Rusty goes on to become a state champion. Rusty's video is on the channel, so if you want to go back and watch Rusty's 2004 year, after this, go back and watch it. You're actually on that video, but you guys will see your medal ceremony right here.
Sixth place for Bryan Peace.
Then in 2005, 130 pounds. As a freshman, you come in fourth place. You get to the quarters. You meet up with Harrison Courtney. Harrison wins in the quarterfinals by a 9-1 decision. Then you guys wrestle again in the third and fourth place match, and Harrison wins by fall, minute 49 seconds. So, no shame in losing both times to Harrison.
Yeah, that was my hips today still hurt from that match. It was a banana splits where he was going against the joint, and I basically tapped out. And we don't. Let's not pull up the tape on that one, but Harrison's a phenomenal wrestler, and we had a lot of mutual respect for each other. And little things like competing with someone as tough as him, like that. The summer after that freshman year, I changed up my stance. I used to lead with my left foot, even though I was right-handed, and he would always get my leg. He was long and lanky. He would just do like an ankle pick or like a low single, and I switched that up, and I think it served me really well to get through the rest of my career there at Ryle. So, shit happens, and you got to learn from it and improve, and that's what I try to do.
Yeah, and of course Harrison goes on to be a four-timer, so no shame in losing, getting beat by him there. And to that point about changing yourself up, wrestlers don't get the mentality of once you learn something, you got to stick with it from now until the grave. Be able to adjust. Be able to move off your left foot to your right foot or however you want to do it. If you know something's not working and you feel better, try it. It may serve you. It may change your whole outcome of your wrestling career.
Yeah, and to kind of to that point, I think especially in the off season, go to tournaments, go and do freestyle and Greco and Olympic stuff, and the records in the off season don't matter. So I remember Like next thing you're probably going to talk about is my 130-pound final loss to Ozzy Parker, which I know is on the channel too. And Ozzy's also a phenomenal wrestler, and no shame in that one. But like, I learned how to do an arm spin in a camp over the summer, and then tried it out doing freestyle and Greco. And when I was behind, I started hitting arm spins against Ozzy and got a couple takedowns, made it a little bit closer, right? So like I would say, don't be afraid to change it up and get out there and try stuff when it doesn't matter as much.
Hey man,
Also,
that's an excellent point. Young wrestlers, listen to what he's telling you, man. He's been there. He's been to the top twice.
Fourth place from Ryle, Bryan Peace. Third place from Hooker County, Harrison Courtney.
2006, 130 pounds as a sophomore. Of course, you brought it up already, but you come in state runner-up to Ozzy Parker from LaRue County. Ozzy wins by a 10-8 decision. We met with Ozzy in person. He was one of our first. Well, I don't want to say the first, but he was him. We done his video in person there, actually in LaRue County. He drove down from Louisville, met with me. I was in attendance for the 2006 state finals, and you had you guys going at it. You had the Merton brothers, or you had Jacob going at it. Just a lot of great wrestling there in 2006 as well. I think Voth was in that from Dunbar, if I'm not mistaken. So just another great year. But 2007, though, man, that was your year. 140 pounds as a junior. We'll go through your bracket real quick. We don't have the video yet, so if you have the 2007 video, please reach out to me, reach out to Bryan. We'd love to get it and do that video because we want to make sure we get all the match videos that we can get, all the review videos that we can get. That way the history is documented. But 2007, man, you start off with a minute 11-second fall over Ricky Wright from Seneca. You go on to the second round, you win a 20-5 tech fall over Forrest Reg of Nelson County. In the quarters, you win a 3-minute 34-second fall over Eric Music from Sheldon Clark. You get to the semis, you win an 18-10 decision over Malcolm Jackson of Fern Creek. Malcolm goes on to get third place. And then in the finals, you win an 18-8 decision over John Thomas from Louisville Central, man. So that 2007 year, man, pretty good showings in all 5 of your bouts. Coming into that senior year, 2008, we'll talk about it just in a second, but in 2007, 2008, I think MySpace was a thing. I think Facebook was in its infancy. The message boards were kind of rolling in. After you win that as a sophomore or as a junior, you come into your senior year. When you walk into a gym, maybe something outside of the northern Kentucky area. I know you guys go to Ohio a lot there at Ryle, maybe Indiana every now and then. But when you go to other meets, not in your home area there, you walk into a gym, do people kind of give you like the side eye or hear whispers, hey, that guy's a state champion? Or how's it go for you that year, your senior year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to not think too much about that. Like people are going to whisper or whatever, but like, you can't get too ahead of yourself and too full of yourself, right? Like sport like wrestling, you're learning, like every day is different too. Your body feels different, right? So, and you can't rest on your laurels, and
Right.
and when but I'm sure that there is an effect where your competitors know that you're the reigning state champ and they're gonna bring their all, right? Like it's not like you're just kind of sneaking up on them, and it's one of those like early round brackets, like in the season in a tournament that isn't as much of a focus. Like you're definitely the name on people's if they've got like a goal board or whatever, there's a duel at Ryle High School and I'm going to go up against the state champ, like that's definitely probably something that you need to be on your toes more than anything. That's how I put it.
Hey, man, listen. The thing about men, and I'm sure women to some degree, but especially men, uh, if they played against somebody that went to the NFL and they tackled them or broke up a pass or played them
Yeah.
in basketball and they got a block or a steal or scored a point on them, whatever, they're going to talk about that the rest of their life. Like people that played against Tim Couch when he was at Leslie County, people still talk about, intercepting him or tackling him, or like the Reed Shepherd played at North Laurel. There's going to be people from Laurel County that played against him that are going to talk for as long as they live about, oh yeah, I blocked Reed Shepherd, no, number 2 pick in the draft or whatever he was. So being a return to state champion, I can see people wanting to give you the match of your life just to be able to say, and I got a takedown on Bryan Peace. He ain't nothing. What we
Yeah.
doing? He
The
didn't
other
pin
thing,
me.
yeah, I also shout out like we the early years, like the first half of my high school career there, we had such a good wrestling room. So like I was Kyle Rochelle's drill partner,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, and I saw how people were coming after him, right? I knew that was going to be the case. You mentioned Rob Ayler. There were a lot of good wrestlers there over that time period. And like I think I also, even if it wasn't consciously, I was subconsciously kind of remembering how Kyle would bring his A game to every match, to every drill, to every practice, right? And like I think this is zooming out big time, but like, I haven't wrestled in 10 years. Like I haven't even put the shoes on. But like the days where you don't feel good are the days where you still have to try your best, like put your best foot forward, because the older and older you get, like you're not feeling as good every day, right? So like I think that's another thing too. Like everybody's bringing their A game and trying to unseat the reigning state champ, right? So every
Mm-hmm.
practice matters, right? Like you never know if you might have a little bit of an off day, and so another couple kind of like pieces of wisdom for the young wrestlers out there.
Absolutely, man. That's the beauty of this channel, man. Is we've said it in other videos, but you mentioned Kyle when we done his video for I was uh Kyle's 2005 video. I planned it out. It was video number 200 for the series, kind of like a milestone celebration. And Kyle's currently the head coach at University of Tennessee Chattanooga. Great program down there he's got going on. And we were talking about, I don't exactly remember what it was that he said, but it just, one of those bloop just come out. I was like, you can't always have Kyle Rochelle come to your house and do a clinic, but you can listen to what he's telling you. You can take this no matter where you go. You can watch it. You can, yada, yada, yada. Watch it on the way to a meet. And that's what I've said now in so many videos is maybe not every single person's story can speak to you, but there are parts that everybody can relate with. There are going to be days, like you said, you're not going to feel the best. You and your girlfriend might be fighting. You and, whatever, maybe having a bad time, or you're split up or whatever, and you're emotional. You don't want to go to practice, but, you go put your shoes on, get the laps in, do your drills. You get home later and she likes one of your Instagram posts. Like, everything's happy now. And sometimes you just got to push yourself through it. So remember, young wrestlers, what Bryan just told you. There's going to be some days you don't want to go to practice. You want to duck out. That's fine. Winning a state championship ain't for everybody, is it?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
man. Let's talk about your '08 season here.
Yeah.
140 pounds as a senior. You start off the state tournament with a 2-minute, 39-second fall over Louis Beto from Danville. You go on to the second round. You win a 16-1 tech fall over Hardy Hendren from Kentucky Country Day out of Louisville. You get to the quarters. You wrestle Ricky Wright again from Seneca in the quarters. You win an 18-3 decision. You get to the semis. You win a 19-4 tech fall over Kenny Watkins from Trinity out of Louisville. Kenny goes on to get fourth place. And then in the finals, you're wrestling a fellow Northern Kentucky foe, if you will, Corey Shotwell Of course, Corey's dad, Dr. Matt Shotwell. I believe Corey's a doctor as well now. Corey's dad, Matt, is a two-time state champion. His 1985 video is on the channel. So after you get done with this, go back and watch Dr. Shotwell win that state championship. But for those that don't know, Ryle and Campbell County are in the same region in wrestling there. And if you don't know the geography, Ryle is in Boone County. Of course, Campbell County is Campbell County right across from each other. You got Boone, Kenton, and Campbell right beside each other. So I'm sure you guys grew up wrestling each other. You wrestled each other in the regional finals the week before. You won a 5-3 decision. When the brackets come out and you see how they line up, do you kind of get the mentality of, all right, I know I'm wrestling Corey in the finals again, or how does it go for you?
Yeah, so it's good you bring up the regional matchup. I'll rewind even further. I think our first dual meet at home that season in December was against Campbell County.
Okay.
And even though Shotwell and I came up in the same region, he's a little bit younger. So like we actually didn't wrestle each other at all, even like training camps and stuff like that before competing when it counted. And I recall vividly the first matchup in December at that dual meet. It was a really good match for me. I took him down immediately with the butt slide. He escaped. I lateral dropped him, pinned him in the first period. Might have been even the first minute, right? And, you know, he's not a slouch and probably a little bit of a fluky first meetup with us. So I'm sure over the entire season, he and his dad and Coach Ben Camper, Coach Gray, they were studying the tape. They were looking at ways to close the gap. And that regional matchup, I did not wrestle my best. I let him kind of dictate the terms of the match. Still came up with a win, but it was a really tight matchup in the regional final. So I knew that it was likely I had to face him again in that final at the state tournament. Although in the semifinals, he had John Thomas, who was my final matchup the year before at 140 pounds. So I was like, all right, we'll see. Let's see if it's a rematch or if it's going to be Shotwell again. So, but yeah, like that was kind of going into it. You know, I knew I had to score quickly and dictate the terms of the match, move my feet, set a really fast pace, and not stick on the mat too much. Like Shotwell was very good on the mat, which I think we'll kind of see a little bit when we walk through it. But yeah, when I look at that bracket, you know, like I just knew like it's not going to be easy. It's the state title, right? So, you know, whatever happens, happens. You know, like I said, Coach Rochelle always says, Murphy's Law, boys. Like you got to expect the unexpected and things to kind of go sideways. So, but yeah, that was how I kind of thought about it going in.
I got you, man. And went your 2008 state finals, win or lose, the last time you ever wear that orange and black for Ryle. No matter what happens, it's it. It's over. Wrestling in high school for Ryle is over. So when you win that semifinals, knowing you're going back to the finals, you win by tech fall, you know, when you win that, do you, like, for those that never got to go to the dungeon, there was a big, like, hotel, the Crown Plaza Resort, something to that effect was attached to it. Do you, like, leave the arena, go back to the hotel room, or do you stay in the venue? What do you do, like, after you win? You go back and, like, chill or eat or what?
Well, you know, we had some really tough wrestlers on the team, so I was, you know, there cheering them on, and we were gunning to try to win the team title too. So as a captain and a leader on the team, like myself, Mason Reed, Alex Pickett is another one. We also had Jacob Bradford on that team, Michael Osborne, Austin Palmer. Like I remember, I might be getting the years mixed up, but like you mentioned Travis Sullivan, like I remember always being there for like Ozzy trying to break through, and I was hoping he would beat Travis Sullivan, right? Like, so I you know, I remember being in that tournament in the dungeon until it pretty much wrapped up.
Okay.
And then like both of actually every year that I was in the state finals, like just couldn't sleep at all that Friday night. You know, I think part of it is like you still got to make weight the next day, right? So you're, a little peckish, maybe to put it mildly.
Yeah.
So you got your weight under control, you feel good about that, but there's this excitement. It's not quite anxiety, but this I can't think of anything else in life that is like this feeling of like you're going to be on that stage. The culmination of all of the hard work that you've had throughout your entire career is just this one match, and
Mm-hmm.
like that's the only match that you've got the next day. Like I might have slept an hour and a half, 2 hours that night before, you know, just so like excited, right?
Yeah.
The other thing too, like going into it, and over the years, I've appreciated this a little bit more, but like kind of going back to the coaching staff. So like, you know, Dave Barnes was the head coach when I started on the JV team. Then Coach Tim Rochelle took over head coach. Dave was still involved, but we had Rick Barker, Larry Mickelson, and those guys I would roll with every day in practice, along with Mason Reed, Alex
Mm-hmm.
Pickett. And like, I remember early in the day on Saturday, Coach Larry Mickelson pulled me aside and he's like, I know that you're focused on the outcome here. Like, I know that you want to win this match and kind of cement your legacy, but try to take all this in.
Mm.
The whole feeling of being like going back and forth from the dungeon to that hotel, like look around at the stands, like see the different people that are here, like soak all that up. And obviously I was still very focused on winning that match, but it was good advice because like to this day, I kind of just remember how I felt walking out onto that mat and how those lights in that arena, like just nothing else in my life kind of tops that. Like again, cornerstone memories. 35 years old now, and I still think about that at least weekly. So
Oh man, I completely understand. There's that iconic music video a couple years ago that Kenny Chesney put out, "The Boys of Fall," and it starts off with the head coach of at the time head coach of New Orleans Saints, Sean Payton, and he goes back to his school and he gives that speech. Three claps, and he gives the speech and he said, whatever. 28 years ago, I was a senior sitting right here in this locker room, getting ready to go out for my last game. He said, "That feeling you have right now, you still get it, but you don't get it as often as what you do every Friday night. You get it when you get married, when you have your kids, the first day of your new job, graduating college. You don't lose it. You just don't get it as often.
yeah.
These Friday nights, they come and go way too fast. Enjoy what you have. Now let's go get, he gives that big rah-rah speech, and so many people can associate, if you played sports, not necessarily football, wrestling, whatever, but you get that, that feeling, man, of riding the bus to an away game, getting off and going into the gym you're not used to being in, a locker room that's not yours, riding, doing whatever, going into hostile territory. Like you said, taking that elevator down and going on that little breezeway there from the big, huge hotel over to the dungeon, warming up behind the head table there at the dungeon, like right there on that practice mat. I mean, just all those little things, like you said. It's just you don't get that feeling as often as what you do coming out for a state championship. Every now and then you may get it, but at least hey man, when the time comes, I know I can pull my best out. When the time comes,
There you go.
I know what my best is, and I know I can deliver. But with that said, man, we're going to pull up your state finals video here. What we're looking at is we have the face-off, and we also have the match video. So you said off camera it's been a day or two since you've seen it. I'm excited for you to have it now, and the Ryle community, the wrestling community to have it, man. So you ready
Yeah,
for it?
let me roll that back. So not a day, a decade. So I was saying, mid-December, we would always do an alumni night at Ryle High School. There's usually like a Wednesday duel, and it was probably 2014, 2015. There was a little table up on the mezzanine there at Ryle, and we would have a DVD player and a video screen, a TV screen, and like a like a CD packet of DVDs. And I remember finding the match and putting it in there. So this is going to be quite the blast from the past for me. I haven't seen this in a decade.
All right, man. Here we go. Let's go back to a cold February night in Frankfort, Kentucky, man. Let's go.
Final countdown.
That's right, man. There was never an atmosphere like this, ever.
Yeah, I wish we had footage of just like everything else around the map.
On Derek Fosbender's, it actually, the camera pans around, so whenever you watch it, you can see the way it used to be, man. There you go, man. You got the white singlet on. All right, bro. So from neutral, there it is. You get an pretty easy takedown there right out of the gate.
Yeah, so right here, I'm not going to pause it, but like later on, I heard Mason Reed and Larry Mickelson, our assistant coach, was in the back, and Larry told him, like, I'm kind of nervous about this match. And Mason's like, oh, it's fine. And then I hit that butt slide to get that first takedown, and then Larry went over to Mason and said, I'm not nervous about the match.
And you can hear the fans for Campbell County yelling for Corey there. And the Ryle fans chime in for you there. And if it's skipping their fans, it's not your computer or your phone. This was converted off what was called a DVD. So ask your parents what a DVD is, young wrestlers.
An ancient relic. Yeah.
I think they're in the Smithsonian now.
Yep.
Right beside 8-track tapes. So you guys, just wrestled last week. Pretty close match. Was there something about that match that you guys worked on in practice that you could hit on Corey, or was it just go out there and wrestle your best, or how'd you plan for it there?
It was really just like wrestle my match, like move feet more, get the fakes going. You can see some of that happening here. Like, just basic, right back to basics, like solid stance and positioning. And I think we'll get into it maybe in the third period a little bit more. But like, get off bottom. Like, don't let him ride the legs.
Yeah.
Don't let him dictate that. Yeah, so here it is. He gets the legs in on me. I think I might have an arm. Start with the second period.
Yeah, this is the second period. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so I caught the leg there. That was one thing we worked on. Like, don't let him flatten you out. Catch the leg as it's going in. trying to work me with the stalemate here. I'm about to get the reversal.
I was going to say that should be. Yep, they gave you a neutral for it. That was a good
Yeah,
call.
it should have been 2 though.
It's close, man. It's close.
Yeah.
Close. So it's, I believe, 3-1 now.
Yeah.
And now Corey's dad, Matt, his wrestling was, and I'm sure Corey had some influence, but Matt, Dr. Shotwell, I should say, was violent. I mean, he was just an absolute, it was more like a fight to him, the way he wrestled. Was Corey rough like that, or was he, a little bit more technical, or how did he wrestle you?
I don't know. We just missed a nice takedown there, though.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one. So that was a good, front headlock, kind of short offense, and chucking him by. I just recall, Corey's basics were really strong, fundamentals, solid stance, good hip positioning. Definitely more of a mat wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I could dictate the terms neutral, but I had to be careful getting stuck underneath him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sure there was a tough edge there, but I didn't. Sometimes you wrestle somebody and they are physical and rough and violent. I never felt that way with Corey. Yeah, you'll see here on the mat, he's really tough, trying to stay behind him there. But I wasn't really trying to play too much of his game.
Right.
I said, some legs.
And of course, Campbell County, man, great program, 4-team state championships. Coach Bancamper and everybody involved with Campbell County when he was the coach, just a great program. So their wrestling style, very, very, very elite. Going back out there, it is. We're neutral again. We're neutral.
Yeah.
Now, who's in your corner coaching you? Do you remember right here?
Yeah, it was Rick Barker, who I said, there's no kid. Yeah, so that, when you ask, what was I working on? Mm-hmm. Yeah, on my feet, dictate the pace, move the feet, get fakes going, and get him to start slipping up and get those kind of takedowns. I felt like if I could move and bob and weave, fake this way, fake that way, in this direction. But it was Coach Rochelle and Coach Barker. We were in the corner there.
I got you. Because, like you said earlier, man, you had 3 teammates in the finals with you, Austin Palmer, Michael Osborne, and, of course, Mason Reed. So, pretty good number of wrestlers in the finals for you, for your team. Soon as you get separation, man, you shoot back or you start reattacking there on that leg or some type of a takedown. Now, he's got that front headlock on it. He scored on it before, but you don't seem to panic from it. Looks like a 3/4 working it there. Did you feel like maybe he was getting close to turning you over?
No, I think this is the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, this is it right there. Yep.
Yeah.
You get up.
I get a kick out of this. Watch.
And the thing is, I want it to stop right there. Is you do a flip, and I'll be daggone if the match didn't cut to the next match there. So did you hit the ref right there?
The ref. There was another angle of this I remember now from the video that we had. The ref misses my foot by this much. So that was another fun thing. Mason Reed learned to do a backflip the year before. So he did a backflip after his 2007 state title win. And that the summer between 2007, 2008 is I can't let, I can do a backflip too. So I was at a wrestling camp and there was a guy there who was really good at just really athletic type of techniques. And I saw he could do a backflip and I was like, you need to teach me how to do that backflip. because I need to have a good celebration for when I win the state title. So, but yeah, that was always kind of funny seeing the ref. I think the ref was trying to pull a piece of tape from Corey off of my singlet. So he's trying to grab it and I don't see him behind me. And I'm
Uh,
like, yeah, do the backflip, almost kick the ref in the face.
that's awesome, man. Of course, you win that match by a score of 10-4. Uh, pretty good performance there. You didn't try anything crazy, man. Like you said, you went out and you wrestled your match, and you knew what you were good at, and you stuck to it. I couldn't tell you the number of videos that we've got of guys that are either first time in the state finals, recurring or whatever, and they get overconfident. They go out and they try, crazy moves that they should never be hitting in the state finals. The spinning moss covered three handled family gradunzel and all these just off the wall moves, and you're like, why in the world would you try this in the match that matters? Why not
Yeah.
just do what you know, stick to what you're good at, and let the chips fall where they may instead of doing something that you don't have no business doing? Try that in practice. Try that at a Tuesday night duel. Don't get under the lights and reshape and reform everything you're good at.
Yeah. So I guess what would it be? If the score was 10-4, I probably had two escapes and four takedowns. I don't know what the one would
Something to
be.
that effect, because
Pretty
you
sure.
got there was no near fall counts, and I don't think you got a reversal. So yeah, I believe that's pretty close. Four takedowns and two escapes.
Yeah, so I think like that the only offensive takedown that I got was that first 10 seconds hitting that little
Mm,
boot scoot butt slide thing. And like that was just something I knew I could do from the first match against Shotwell.
mm,
Like just feeling that pressure come in a little bit. And back to your point on his dad being really like aggressive wrestler, I don't know, maybe there was something there. Like he definitely came in and banged that collar tie hard. So I
mm.
was like, okay, bet, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, but the other ones I think was just kind of like the short offense, basically like front headlock, moving, like shuck by, maybe like get him to kind of bite on a fake and sprawl and then go from there. But I think what I maybe consciously or subconsciously, it's like the second time you're there, you don't need to force anything. You know what I mean? Like take the match as it comes, like take what you can get, especially early in the match,
Hmm.
like I think there comes a time where if you get behind, you do need to start forcing some offense. But um like early in my career, high level matches, like I remember I was in the sophomore national finals. The uh, senior national started, they expanded it to junior sophomore.
Hmm.
And I had a really good tournament up until the final match. And I wrestled this really stout, solid guy from North Carolina. And I forced stuff and he beat me pretty handily, right? So again, like just kind of taking in those lessons throughout your career, like, there's I never was like a super flashy wrestler. I had some tricks in the bag if I needed them.
Right.
Um, but like wrestling every day with guys like Rick Barker and Larry Mickelson, like, with Rick, it was always about hips on the mat. Like never let yourself get extended too much,
Right.
sit out, all of this. Um, and then wrestling with Coach Mickelson on the feet, it was just like I just remember him having a rock solid stance. Like you couldn't barely even touch his legs. So I'm sure throughout the, get putting in that 10,000 hours, I'm absorbing that stuff through osmosis, just
Yeah.
wrestling live with those guys every day. Um, so yeah, I think like, just I let wrestling's kind of one of those things where you you're a lot better a lot of times if you just kind of take what comes.
Hmm.
Like hold your ground, wrestle your match, but like if there's opportunities, take them, right? See the guy get out of position, take advantage of it. So I'm sure that was part of of what I was going through. But I think another thing about like when you get to a high level of wrestling, there isn't a whole lot of thinking involved. It's all muscle memory, instinctive, right? And that's also part of like wrestling your match is finding that flow state of how you're just kind of like in your stance, finding little opportunities, moving, faking, moving your feet, keeping good positioning. Yeah.
Hey man, excellent advice there. Um, you're talking about, with Rick. Of course, Rick's a two-time state champion, I believe in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And the earliest video that we have of the state finals is 1969, and we have, the whole state finals there. But watching that style of wrestling as compared to 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s is what you'll see is the basics still work. In 1969, a half Nelson works as good as what it does in 2024. Getting your hips, if you get broke down on the mat, your hips get on the mat, it's as bad in 1969 as what it is in 2024. If you overextend yourself, chances are you're going to get taken down in 1969 the same way you would in 2024. So the basic principles of wrestling are always applicable. Nowadays we have, like you said, some flashier moves, some better technique, whatever, but the basic fundamentals still matter. And if you go to young wrestlers or parents or guardians, even coaches, if you're getting away from teaching your wrestlers, no matter what level, basics in practice and drilling basic fundamentals, you're not teaching your kids how to wrestle. You're teaching your kids how to gimmick. Don't teach your kids how to gimmick. Teach your kids how to wrestle. Add stuff in later. Give them a great foundation, a great base, great fundamentals. Then build on top of it. Don't let your
Yeah.
kids get out here and gimmick. I hate seeing teams that do that. As a referee, this is my 19th season. I hate seeing these newer teams or even teams been around for a while. They'll get a new coach with a new style or whatever, and you can see the wrestling as the gimmicks increase. They try these gimmick moves they see on TikTok and social media. The number of wins, the quality of wrestling go down every time they add a new gimmick in. So teach your kids the basics. The basics.
Yeah. I would also add like never stop. Like that reversal or like the when Shotwell threw that leg in and I caught it, my hips were still low, but I knew if I just kept kind of gradually pulling it up, like I could get out of there and either get a reversal or an escape. And I think like, wrestling with Kyle Rochelle all those years was definitely something that I picked up on that. Like, even if you got in, like, I feel like sometimes, this is also back in the era of where like Ben Askren kind of put the funk wrestling on the mat, right? And I remember like, maybe the first few times where I was really training with Kyle, I would get in deep on a shot and think I had it, but really like that's just when it started.
Yep.
Like Kyle would keep going, keep going, keep going. It didn't matter how deep you got, right? Or if there was a couple times in practice where I'd catch him, throw him with the lateral drop right there, like I was in for it for the next 10 minutes, right? Like, and I think that's another big thing too. Like there's opportunities in matches where you're tired, it's toward the end of a period, you're kind of towards the boundary, the edge of the mat. And if one wrestler takes a bit of time off, that's when you attack, right? If the other guy starts to let up, you keep going, you keep going. You have to have that mindset of like, I'm going to win this match, take what I can get, but I'm going to win this match by not stopping. And there's a mindset, there's an attitude, I think, that like young wrestlers should think about too. Like, don't let up, keep going till the whistle blows, keep going to the end of the period. The end of the period is where the big matches are won or lost, right? So
Yep. Absolutely, man. And I know for a fact, as long as I've been officiating, you can, I don't want to say who on camera, but there are some teams you can tell like the last 11 seconds, 10 seconds of a period, if they're neutral or if they're on the bottom, they're going to try to score in those 11, 10 seconds. That you can just tell by the way they start moving is they, I don't want to say conserve energy for a little bit, but that must be their whole game plan is let's get late in the period, let's try something.
Yeah.
Let's try something. Time runs out, it runs out, but let's try something. So, Bryan, man, we've covered a lot of ground here, got a lot of topics covered. Is there anything else you'd like to say, add, take away? Anything, that we haven't covered?
No, I mean, I just kind of also like just seeing that it just brings back this like pride of not just me individually winning that, but like the community around it, like that team, the parents, obviously my parents, my brother, my sister, like Mason Reed's parents, Michael Osborne's parents, Austin Palmer's, like all of those people were such a great community. And with a sport like wrestling, where it takes just full on commitment, really for 6 months of your life, like, I'm thinking about wrestling season back in those days is really starting like in October, all, running all the way through into February, into March.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that that's another thing that you shouldn't take for granted is that your brother's in the wrestling room with you, or sisters now. We've got girls competing. The camaraderie that you build, like to this day, whenever I get together with my buddies from that team, we're, reminiscing about the speeches that Coach Tim Rochelle would give. He's had some doozies over the years. I'm really, really appreciative and thankful for that, for being a part of that.
And before we wrap this up, I want to reach out. Jordan Blackmore, Rob Ayler, Mason Reed, Jake Bradford, Johnny Meeman, and Noah Duke. If you watch this, please contact me. I'd love to do your review videos. We have, we don't want to make sure we get everybody the opportunity to do their video with us. There's a few years that we don't have, but hopefully you have the years that we don't. Maybe you can, if you have it on VHS or DVD or whatever, we can get it converted for you. Have a converter. Be more than happy to do that. We just want to get everybody that we can on the channel. So, Bryan, man, thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. I'm sure the Ryle crowd's going to enjoy it. I can't wait to get it edited and get it put up so we can have it right here in the middle of wrestling season as of this filming. But I believe we've reached a great ending point. Thank you all for watching. We will see you guys and girls on the mats.